Welcome, everybody, to the Analyst Desk. It is I, Jacob Moore, the self-proclaimed sports analyst, joined by Mr. Lane Dashing Dashko
Woo!
and Mr. More for your money.
Woo!
Now, Dan, this is a topic that you brought to everyone's attention, like a good
I
little grasshopper. So why don't you talk about this topic and about
well,
what we're going
thank
to be
you.
talking about today?
Well, thank you. So we're going to do a live show of Gassel Ask with this ultimate question to see what all of you think about it. As you all know, as an introduction, I'm taking sports event marketing at Seneca York in Toronto, and I have this group assignment that we have to do a market pitch about adding more professional sports teams to Canada. So we're talking the NFL expanding into Canada. We can talk about an eighth NHL team. We can talk about a second MLB team and a second NBA team. As well, we can also talk about some new women's sports teams are joining and basically expanding even more. So we're going to talk about if we should expand both teams, yes or no, and where to and why. So we wanted to get that now quickly since my class will be joining us watching this after our live show. I was wondering if Jacob and Mr. Daskell can give a quick introduction of each other just to let my classmates know about your professionalism in the sports industry, since I only know a little bit about me.
Well, I guess I'll kick this off into high gear. As I said, I'm Jacob Moore, the self-proclaimed sports analyst. Follow me on all the social medias, and so I've been working in sports broadcasting, funny enough, since I was 15 years old. Once I was 15 years old.
Yeah.
And during this time, and mostly in community television, but then I also worked up in Sault Ste. Marie for about 4 years. And at that time, I hosted a sports show, covered the Sioux Greyhounds, and really was getting more and more involved into it. Also worked hometown hockey with the National Hockey League and another marketing company. And during all of that is kind of where I've gotten into sports. I've been into sports my whole life, but started to look into it much more analytically and decided it was time to continue doing the shows. We had a show before under a different brand, new show, taking topics from other people in the world. And that's how we got this topic today. Nelly, why don't you tell us a bit about yourself?
Well, I'm dashing Lane Dashco out in the darkness. I am stuck on the in my girlfriend's sports. So I don't have any grill light, but I am usually dashing looking. Right now, I've been working with the OJHL now for a few years locally here in Burlington with the Burlington Cougars. I also work locally with with a local company here in your TV Halton here is, and so working in the Halton, working in the OJHL. I've been following hockey ever since I was a little kid, watching Joe Bowen, my idol, who's something I always wanted to be, someone I always wanted to be, a play-by-play broadcaster or a color commentator. So I took journalism in Mohawk College, trying to become a sports broadcaster, and I started to branch out into the OJHL. I've also covered a little bit of lacrosse, and I've also done a football game. So I've done a lot of local sports in the Halton and Burlington community, and looking to see if I can keep here. And obviously, here I'm on this podcast, and you'll see me yelling and screaming about the Leafs, the Ticats, the Blue Jays, whatever team I like, because I'm passionate about sports. Again, I know I come on here sometimes look sounding like a crazy man, but again, at the end of the day, I love sports. I want to see my teams win. I'm passionate about it. I love it, and that's why I'm here today.
Beautiful. Great introduction, gentlemen. So let's get the conversation started. Now, I did send you guys in our group chat. That's like we like Canada. We like Team USA about the group chat, but we're not talking about beating up Team Canada in our group chat at the World Hockey Nation there about what we're talking about this presentation. Give you guys some talking points, but then you guys have also done your own research that we don't even know about, so that way we can get each other a live reaction.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, 100%. So what will you guys are waiting on some comments to come in here? What do you think, Mr. Daskell, about this topic? So if we add more Canadian sports teams, where does it go? What leagues should they be? And why or why not?
I actually don't like. Well, I'm the controversial one. I actually don't think we should add more Canadian teams. You know, you look
Oh,
at and
interesting.
here's how I feel about it. So you look at hockey, right? And you look at when the Toronto's in the playoffs, and it feels like the other markets are out. Canada doesn't really seem to come around when the Leafs are in. It still feels like a Toronto versus everybody, or even when Edmonton was in the finals versus Florida. It didn't feel like the country really kind of banded behind the Edmonton Oilers to want to see the Oilers win. It just kind of felt like, oh, it's my team, it's my team. What's so special about the Blue Jays and the Raptors, when they're the only team, the whole country comes together, right? It's not just, oh, well, I want my team to win. Well, I want my team to win. You got people in Nova Scotia, in Yukon, in British Columbia, in Saskatchewan, in Quebec, in Nova Scotia. Everyone's cheering for the Blue Jays right now. The numbers are good. The TV ratings are through the roof. They're getting more ratings than they do when the Leafs play in the playoffs. The numbers are fantastic. The country, everywhere you go into a grocery store, you go into a gas station, you go anywhere you go, you see people wearing Blue Jay hats and Blue Jay sweaters, and Blue Jay socks and Blue Jay shoes. It's a phenomenon to see this. And you saw this with the Raptors a few years ago too. When the Raptors were in the finals, everywhere you went, it was Raptors, Raptors, Raptors. But the more you add, you're gonna lose that magic. If you add another baseball team, you had one, let's say, in Vancouver, and all of a sudden you got half of Canada who's going to be like, well, I don't care if the Blue Jays win because I want a Vancouver. So, yes, you'll have more Canadian representation, but you're going to lose some of the magic.
Now, Lynn, I kind of want to jump in and interject. When you say the magic, and I do get what you're saying there to a point, I would not put another baseball team within driving distance, let's say, or another basketball team within driving distance of the Blue Jays or the Raptors, respectively. But let's be honest, it's not like the stadium is being filled up with Vancouver fans every night. So if
I get that.
But so if you put a team in Vancouver, and I do understand what you're saying about the country coming together, but I mean, you look at the Ottawa Senators as a prime example. Even when they became the expansion team, it's not like the Leafs couldn't still have that Leaf Mecca culture. And something I think you have to look at, and I want to go a little bit into football here a little bit, I think you should be using the CFL as almost a test market if you're thinking NFL and looking where is it working. For example, let's be honest, even when the Bills played in Toronto, no one went. So
attendance was very low.
Toronto, this only stadium that's big enough is terrible for football in the Sky Dome or Rogers Center. So I look at Vancouver. They're on pace to sell over 30,000 tickets again for the game this week, right? They are constantly getting massive ticket sales. There's an area that makes more sense, or you and Lane and Dan are both going to laugh at me about this. I think if you're expanding into the NFL, I would consider Winnipeg.
Yeah, I can see that.
They love their football in Winnipeg. I get some people may say, well, maybe the price takes it out of the equation. Look, not everybody in Winnipeg is living on a shoestring budget. Let's get that perfectly clear. People say the Winnipeg Jets attendance is bad. It's bad until football's over.
Well, I have some interesting interjections to add both your points. I'll start with Lane first since he started this wonderful conversation.
I do pick on me. It's just going that good.
Oh, I'm not picking on you.
I'm just kidding.
A good debate here. I do agree with what you're saying to a point, Mr. Daskal. However, even when you look at the NHL, it's a prime example. Even though there are multiple hockey teams in Canada, like Vancouver, Ottawa, Calgary, or Edmonton, Montreal, you name it, regardless what arena you go to, when the Leafs or the Habs are in town in any of those arenas, they have tons of Maple Leaf and Habs fans. Why? Because people who were hockey fans before teams jumped into their markets like Vancouver and Calgary and Edmonton and Ottawa, they still love their Maple Leafs or Habs. So if a team's just going to show up at random in your hometown, are those fans going to automatically switch, or are they still going to love the team that they loved over its time, like Toronto and Montreal? And you talk about we've been talking about the ludicrous fan in our class, and yes, I know, I'm meant to be unbalanced. If our ludicrous fans like Habs and Leaf fans, for not just going to switch and start cheering for the Vancouver Canucks or Edmonton Oilers just because they opened a hockey rink there. Some people but you'll still get those fans. To add to Jacob's point, I think Jacob made some really great points too, but I get your point about Winnipeg. I really do. But I do kind of wonder if you are opening a second team. Let's say opening a second team in Canada to the MLB or the NBA. Oh, we can even take your suggestion and put the NFL. That's a very good point, Jacob. But you want one team representing your whole country. You're not going to put it in Winnipeg.
Why? You already have one.
In America already know what Winnipeg is. You already American. They say Toronto.
Okay, maybe, but here's the thing, Dan.
Maybe
this isn't to appease Americans. Sure, Americans have heard of Toronto, but are Americans from Buffalo driving to Toronto to watch an NFL game? Hell no.
No, so I'm saying not playing in a border town.
So you're not getting the point. The point of the matter is, you go to football cities. You'd laugh at me. Saskatchewan would be another one I would consider.
Well, I guess kind of like Green Bay Packers of the NFL, right? Like the team Green Bay is a very small city. Like you can actually fit the whole population of Green Bay into the stadium. It's so small,
and it sells out every game.
It does. So
look, all I'm saying is, if you were going to test the NFL in Canada, what the Bills should do is every year, and different NFL teams in different areas, the way they have games overseas, they should have some in Canada. Have one in Toronto. Have one in Halifax. Have one in Saskatchewan. Especially now with the Canadian Football League stadium changes, it's going to be even easier to play an American-style game on a one-off in Canada, right? Because realistically, you could just, I don't know, put some kind of lines around to make the end zones look smaller. And then bada bing, bada boom. And you just have to make the field narrower. And again, if it's a preseason game, maybe you're just going to leave it the way it is because it's a preseason game.
Never mind lines. There's an opportunity for sponsorship, right? Put some advertising right on the field. Since the field is smaller in the NFL, you got that extra space. Why not sell ads to make revenue on this Canadian excursion into the NFL?
Now, my whole thing is, I just don't know how much Canadians would welcome NFL football in Canada.
Yeah, we saw a lot of pushback already.
We're already getting pushback from moving goalposts to avoid people running into a post and giving themselves a concussion. And honestly, I think if you were going to go another out of the big three, out of NBA, NFL, and MLB, you guys haven't really been talking much basketball. Let's just put a team back in Vancouver. I know it didn't work the first time, but Vancouver's a very different city than it used to be, right?
Very much so.
And what I would do with that is team up with either the Vancouver Canucks or the BC Lions and do some cross promotion. And I know you might say, well, everyone's freaking out about the Bills Argos cross promotion. Those are competing leagues. If you have the Canadian Football League partnering up with the NBA for some cross promotion, we all know Amar Doman loves to do multiple reach out in the community.
The owner of
BC Lions, these leagues need to look at what's already in Canada and figure out a way to use that to their advantage, right? That's what I'd be doing if I'm looking to expand into Canada. I'm even maybe considering a city like Edmonton. And Dan, you're going to laugh at me when I say Edmonton. But you look at Edmonton for baseball, when between hockey and football, what's there to do? There's not much going on in Edmonton.
True.
And even in Edmonton, you gotta remember, football is only 9 home games a year.
Right.
And then potentially some playoff games. So,
which I haven't done lately.
So what I'm saying is Toronto is such a tough market, and so is Vancouver because there's so much going on.
Right.
People tell me there's no money out west. Well, those people have no clue. Because people out west, okay, they're making a little less money in theory, but did you ever think about disposable income versus disposable income in the GTHA? Which everyone says, put teams in Toronto, put teams in Hamilton. There's no disposable income here because you're breaking the bank just to buy yourself a condo, where for the same price, I can buy a mansion in Edmonton, right?
Well,
so there is disposable income. So people who are making $80,000 to $90,000 on an average salary, they could actually afford to go to premier baseball games and top of the line football games. And we haven't even talked soccer either. Which soccer's expanded a little more in Canada with the MSL.
That's true. With Vancouver Whitecaps, the Toronto FC, and Montreal has a team, correct?
Yeah.
I just wanted to add to your. I actually really like your idea of Edmonton as a baseball team, Jacob. One thing that people forget about is even though people don't think of Edmonton as a big money city, it actually is because you're not that far from the oil field. So a lot of people that work in the oil fields and making minimum 120 grand a year are living in Edmonton basically and commuting up north. So even like they literally commute on an airplane. Like they fly from Edmonton to Northern Alberta to work a couple of days and then come back. And it's almost like they have two properties or live in a hotel or whatever, right? It's a very different way of life there that we don't even know about down here. And the other thing I like about Edmonton too is, correct me if I'm wrong, Jacob, you might know this more than I do, but the Commonwealth Stadium, which is where the Edmonton Elks, I almost called them a different name there, where the Edmonton Elks play their CFL football, is the biggest stadium in the CFL because it was built for the Commonwealth Games way back in the day. That's why it's called Commonwealth Stadium. And it can hold up to 70,000 people. So even though baseball diamond is bigger than football field, I think it might work better more so than playing football in the Sky Dome because you could take out some seats in the Commonwealth Stadium to fit in a baseball diamond and probably still have it hold 40 or 50,000 people.
And this might sound weird to compare it, but there is the Edmonton Riverhawks, who is a baseball team out there.
Minor league, correct?
Yes, it's a minor league team, but they have sold out every single game since 2024.
Holy cow.
Now, mind you, that's 4,885 fans. So people might say that's not a lot. But if you're selling out every single game, like I'm talking about the Winnipeg Blue Bombers who are selling out every game, imagine if you put in a major league team and already you have a fan base of over 4,000 people, as dumb as that sounds, that you can probably get consistently at games because baseball is an affordable sport to go to,
yes.
Right? Like baseball is one of the more reasonably priced. Now there is like 100 and some odd games, and all those are home, obviously, but it is a much more reasonably priced sport compared to the NFL and the NHL and the NBA.
In the
like
MLB,
regular season tickets
games
are almost as expensive as Blue Jay playoff tickets. Like, I just want you to think about that in your head for a minute, right? Like, I can go to the Jays game on Thanksgiving for around the same price as the Leafs on Ticketmaster. Right?
Crazy.
So, and when you're looking at these markets where Edmonton, even though it's an oil city, which has a lot of money, you're not thinking as much of this as a city that brings in a lot of income. But then maybe you're better with a sport that is considered more affordable. And Edmonton you cannot go to Edmonton and not have people talk about the Riverhawks, right? Like they're a very popular. They had the best attendance in league history last year of over 132,000 fans in total over the season.
And probably fit more, they had a bigger stadium.
Oh, and that's my point, right? So maybe you do need to start looking at these other cities with other sports. Like I would say this, and I don't know if you guys will agree with me or not. I would completely stay out of the GTHA.
Interesting. My only
I don't see Hamilton getting all in for an NFL team.
No.
I don't see any sports that are in Mississauga and Brampton. The attendance is terrible. Hamilton is the only city which does have a lacrosse team that maybe you could see about looking into maybe basketball. But even then, I just don't know. I think to Lane's point when he brought up about people aren't just going to become a fan of another team just because it's down the street from them. Hamilton's too close to Toronto. I think that's why an NHL team hasn't gone to Hamilton. I think it's just too close. Even OHL, unfortunately, the OHL just pulled out of Hamilton because of what they're doing in Brantford.
Right. That's the team that Zach Hyman's family owns.
Yeah.
I mean, the only concern I would have, though, between what you guys are saying is, again, you lose that. Again, I'm going to go back to the word magic, right? Like, what the Jays have is special, right? Like, the Jays are able to go to somebody and be like, you don't have to worry about this fan hating you or this guy hating you. You have a country behind you, right? Like, when Matthews misses a shot or Matthews messes up, you have one city that loves him and half the country hates him. When he plays Connor McDavid, he's not getting cheered. When Kevin Gausman goes out there in front of the Yankees, it's got 32 million people watching. And you think about the revenue that Sportsnet can charge and put on their TV shows, right?
Mhm.
Rogers, like the Jays are literally the only team in the Major League Baseball to have their own broadcast, right? Like, how cool is that? Like, again, you start branching in, you're going to start losing those rights because the Major League Baseball isn't going to let you have two teams with their own regional broadcast that will actually let you steal their viewership and their money and sponsorship and let you run your own broadcast during playoffs. Again, you have to think of all these things. So you put another team, and now you're losing the value. Now you're losing the magic behind it because now you got two baseball teams. So the Blue Jays aren't special; they're just another team.
But I mean, I get what you're saying to a point, but it's kind of to my point about the Leafs and Sens fans. There will be Senators fans who are always, Ottawa people and who will always be Toronto Maple Leaf or Montreal Canadian fans.
That's
It didn't
what I was
matter that they
saying,
put
yeah.
another team there. Now, the broadcasting rights brings up an interesting point, but I'm going to counter it in a way. Now the MLB could take one team to Sportsnet, one team to TSN, and make them compete with each other for sponsorship dollars. Right? And there's another way to do it, and I would say TSN would be thrilled to get more into the baseball world because there's rumors about potentially TSN losing some CFL rights to Amazon, so they're panicking a little bit, right? And we've seen them put a lot more money into their sports productions that are there. Look how much they lost when Sportsnet took the majority of the NHL games.
Oh,
so
crazy.
So, I mean, I think there's workarounds there. Like I've said, honestly, I don't think the NFL works in Canada. I really do feel the majority of Canadians who are true football fans, and I'm not talking about the casual who puts on the NFL while they eat their dinner and then they go to bed before the game's over. Like, I'm talking about the hardcore fan that is actually going to put their butt in the seat and spend an obscene amount of money to watch a sport. I don't know how much they're going to go to an American product. And I'm just going to say it right now, and I don't mean to get political, but the way everything is now, I don't see expansion happening until things change in the States to Canada with American leagues. The NHL might be the only one I could really see growing more in Canada right now, because as much as the league is mostly American, the players are mostly Canadian, and hockey is felt as a Canadian game.
Again, no, not to get in, but again,
go ahead.
Sorry, but again, to Jacob's point, and again, not to get political, but you can't argue the dollar, right? Like the salary cap again is paid in American dollars, right? And these Canadian teams are struggling to keep talent here because it's just easier to go to America.
I can't say I agree with you there at all. We have the best player in the world on Edmonton. Kyle Connor just signed a massive deal.
He only signed for 2 years, well.
Austin Matthews and William Nylander signed massive deals recently. Like, there's a difference, and as much as I'm not a huge fan of the way the NHL does some of their workings, there are advantages to playing in Canada versus playing in the States in general. I didn't agree with Mitch Marner's comments, but he was right. When you are a superstar in Toronto, you are treated like a god. And that's just a fact, right? You're getting that lifestyle versus when he can probably be in Vegas, go get himself a latte, and no one even knows who the hell he is. So it depends what you're looking for. But Lane, I do get your point. And I just don't find, but then explain to me why then Minnesota had to pay Kaprizov an obscene amount of money. That's in the States to stay in Minnesota, right? Like, Minnesota is not a desirable city, and that's in America. I'll tell you one thing right now. I think if you surveyed 100 people and said, if you could afford everything aside, would you rather live in Toronto or Minnesota? Most people are going to say Toronto, and that's no disrespect to Minnesota. But it's a different lifestyle, right? I still see if we're going to see Canadian expansion within the next 3 years, I see it more being in hockey than other sports, just because realistically, I don't see the NFL coming to Canada. I really don't. Baseball, I would love to see a team out west in either Vancouver, but then again, you're competing with Seattle's fan base, so Seattle might not be okay with that. So maybe you're looking like an Edmonton or a Calgary. And you're saying, oh, well, if they make it all the way to the World Series, it'll be snowing. I think that'll be cool to watch a World Series blizzard game. I'm sorry. That'll be cool TV. Talk about the field of dreams. It can be the field of snow.
What's interesting, though, is that almost did happen with the Tampa Bay when they almost lost their franchise. Montreal almost did get it back, but for some reason, the MLB pulled out of it, and they were actually supposed to get some games in Montreal. I'm pretty sure there was an agreement that last second got pulled away.
I have no idea why the Jays don't do like different areas of Canada for games, because they could sell out like crazy.
Well, for sure. Just to add to your point, Vo, great points, you guys. I love this conversation we're having. It's amazing how much stuff you guys know about all of this. With Minnesota, it is a tax state. So on 17 million is paying tax on it. That might have something to do with it versus if he signed in like Dallas or something like that. And the other thing I wanted to say is with the MLB in Edmonton, I think it's a great idea to playing a baseball team in Edmonton. I just wonder if baseball might suffer in a smaller market because baseball is the one team here one league that we're talking about here that does not have a salary cap. So if you're a new league
That's going to
starting
change,
up,
though.
how do you compete against a team like the Yankees that spend billions of dollars on contracts?
Well, apparently all you got to do to compete with the Yankees is hit the ball more than they do. But Dan, when you mention that legitimately, okay, so are the Baltimore Orioles competitive?
Not
they
this
suck,
year.
right? They've been under 500. Chicago White Sox, are they competitive?
No.
Not at the moment.
The Angels, are they competitive?
Nope.
No, not actually.
Nationals, competitive?
Nope.
Pirates, competitive?
Nope.
Unfortunately not. Our classmate Gabe's not going to be too happy with that. He's a big Pirates fan.
Rockies, competitive?
No.
So why are you saying you can't bring a team to Canada because they can't compete with the Yankees? I just rhymed off a bunch of teams that can't compete with the Yankees. They're not losing their franchises tomorrow.
Well, that's a very, very good point.
The Pittsburgh Penguins, until they drafted Sidney Crosby, were god-awful. They didn't lose their franchise.
No, because Mario Lemieux came in and saved the day.
But what I'm getting at is, Dan, I think just to say a team won't be competitive right away, that's not a legitimate reason to not give them a franchise.
That's true. That's
Toronto
true.
Blue Jays spend nowhere near the New York Yankees. Did it matter?
Yeah.
Nope.
No, right? Just because you can spend the most money. Okay, I'm gonna go out and get food, right? Dan, you're gonna spend $5,000 on the food.
Cool.
I'm gonna spend $100. Okay.
Dave, bring some food to me right now.
You're gonna cook one dish, and Gordon Ramsay's gonna cook the other. Which one will taste better? The one that costs more money, or the one that was cooked by Gordon Ramsay?
The one that's cooked by Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah,
money doesn't always mean success.
That's true.
And again, that's why I'm saying don't think of it as, well, they won't be competitive right away. The
funny you
Jays
mention
the first
that.
couple years were terrible.
Like,
It's funny Jacob
first
mentioned.
couple years. The last couple years, they've been terrible. They didn't lose their franchise. Can't compete with the Yankees.
yeah.
Jacob, a little off topic. It's funny you mentioned that they actually did that challenge on a BuzzFeed thing where it was like a $400,000 Alfredo sauce cooked by a home chef, and her $4 Alfredo sauce cooked by the cuisine, and then they both ate it, and they were like, yeah, it doesn't. He could cook, even though he uses the $400,000, he made this just as good of a sauce with $4 instead of the $400,000 one.
And that's my point. And there will be players who will desperately want to come to a new franchise to be the face of the franchise.
That's true, too. I could definitely see that because if you're the franchise player, you're going to sell the jerseys. You're going to sell the merchandise. You're going to get the sponsorship corporate deals or the commercials, the TV ads, whatever, billboards on buses. So maybe if you put a NFL team into Canada or put a baseball team into like Edmonton, you could be that franchise guy that you weren't in a different market, right?
So, but when we're talking expansion, I am curious. Out of the major leagues, NHL, MLB, NFL, NBA, we've just seen WNBA potentially expanding to Canada if we don't get a lockout.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Let's be honest. I think that lockout, in my opinion, that lockout's coming. But
I hope it doesn't.
I hope it doesn't either. Truthfully, I think it could do a lot of harm to the WNBA. But
it's blowing a lot.
But out of those leagues that I just mentioned, what league do you see expanding to Canada?
I have a crazy take. I'm going to say the NBA. And the reason why I
I
say
don't
the
think that's that
NBA,
crazy.
reason why I say the NBA is we just saw all that momentum when the Raptors won in 2019. And just this season, we saw all the momentum in Hamilton with Shea Alexander winning in at the Oklahoma City Thunders, right? And Jacob, all three of us, Jacob Lane and I, were at the Shea Alexander celebration. It was poorly organized. It was poorly marketed. Overall, it was a bad event. However, even being a bad executed event, you still had thousands upon thousands of people there celebrating Shea Alexander and the city of Hamilton. And Shea Alexander even saying on TV, it was televised on TSN, he even said on TV, he is proud to say he is from Hamilton. And when he goes all over the America, the NBA, he doesn't just tell people he's from Canada. He doesn't just tell people he's from Toronto, which I'll be honest, if I travel, that's what I do, because I don't think most Americans know any other city. But Shea Alexander tells everyone, I am from a city called Hamilton, 65 kilometers, 40 miles away from the city of Toronto, and this is why Hamilton's great. I think he could be a great spokesperson for expanding the NBA. And if I am expanding the NBA, I would love to play in a Hamilton area, build that rivalry of the Raptors versus a Hamilton team, and give Shea Alexander whatever amount of money he wants to be the franchise guy and build it in Hamilton.
Look, I'm going to say this here, and I think you guys would think I'm absolutely crazy because there's no stadium, obviously, so it would need work. You'd have to try to figure out a way to convert. I'm not going to say the name of the stadium yet because you're going to know the second I'm saying it. Montreal.
Yep.
They love their basketball in Quebec.
That's
Take
true.
Olympic Stadium and try to convert it so it could do base basketball. Because by the time basketball starts, because I think the Montreal Alouettes are going to move there within the next 3 years, by the way. That's my take on that, too. So
They're
make it
selling
so
up
it can...
McGill University every day.
Well, McGill University, I don't think is going to move. I don't think they're going to be willing to move their goalposts. So I think that's where we're going. But look, I would absolutely love Montreal. It's a very diverse market. It's kind of like the French Toronto.
Yep.
We already tried a basketball team in Vancouver. Now, I mean, I do think they could. I think it could work a lot better now than it did before.
I think so.
But a lot of people don't like it.
Areas.
Look when they put a team in Atlanta again. Nobody cared. So maybe it's time to go to a city that's really craving. They want basketball. They want baseball. They want a second CFL team. I think if you give them another team, and who knows, maybe you could even do something with the Bell Center to make it work for basketball. I mean, we already see Scotiabank Arena work for the Raptors and the Leafs. Maybe there's a way you could make the Bell Center do both. And now all of a sudden, I really think Montreal would really embrace it. I really do. Montreal is a big sports city. There's some of the biggest basketball tournaments in Canada held in Montreal. And Dan, I actually agree with you with the NBA because I think basketball in Canada is so much bigger now than what it was 15, 20 years ago. Right? You have guys like SGA. You have Team Canada in the Olympics actually playing pretty well, and same in other major international tournaments. You have the Toronto Raptors who won a Lombardi Trophy. Yeah, so I don't know, Lane, you're looking at me like you think I'm about $1 short of a dollar drink from McDonald's.
No.
So do you get what I'm saying here with kind of putting the team in Montreal? Or do you see, I'll be honest, Dan, no disrespect, Hamilton would not work.
Yeah.
And the Raptors would never say yes.
True.
That's true.
So I think it's between Montreal and Vancouver because unfortunately I don't think they would ever put one in Eastern Canada past Montreal.
Which is weird because I think that's the market. If you're going to put anything anywhere, I think that's a market that's starving. I think you would get a lot of people.
I think you would too, but I just don't think they'll do it. Because everyone goes, "Oh, the winter. How are we gonna get there?" You get to Buffalo.
Yeah, exactly.
You get to Minnesota. The Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds don't just cancel games when they get possible chance of flurries. Like, I mean, no, but in all seriousness, right? I would say if you're gonna put an NHL team somewhere, it's got to be Halifax.
Oh,
I would love. If you remember when they had the Toronto Marlies used to play in Halifax, sold out every night around 10,000 people.
Right.
Arizona had a team for years and they couldn't do that. I mean,
No.
they did when they were originally in downtown, but
I got a question for you boys, and maybe it's a bit of a touchy subject, but with the OHL kind of, let's be honest, it's gonna start dying because of this whole American college and these
I
people
don't agree
going to
with you on
college.
that.
But I think it might start to die up. But do you think that maybe teams like Halifax might now get an NHL team because the Mooseheads might not be as good as prominent as they are, which leaves more fans to maybe want to buy tickets in Halifax to go see an NHL team that can actually put together a more predominant roster, and they'll have more opportunity now.
That's a great point. You know, we talk about disposable income, like there's a lot of disposable income in Eastern Canada. I have a friend of mine living out in Eastern Canada who has been big in the auto industry, and he's been adding so much success to Eastern Canada. He's buying up real estate and he's like opening businesses. He wants to open a dealership in Eastern Canada because he sees how many opportunities there are out there. People who can't afford the big cities like Toronto and Vancouver and Montreal, they're moving out east. New Canadians that need somewhere to go, they're going out east. So there's a lot of jobs opening up there. There's a lot of new people moving out there. And like Halifax is not a small city either, right? You got the harbor out there, which is arguably even a bigger harbor than Vancouver because all the inventory from Europe comes into that harbor. So you got a lot of good jobs out there, big disposable income. I can totally see something going out east. I think.
But Jacob, I want to know, why do you disagree with that? I mean, like, you look at the top five players this year, the top five players in all of Canada. Gavin McKenna, there was somebody else in WHL, the QMJ, the top five prospects all left to go to the States because they can get an education, they can play hockey against people that are older, which prepares them better for the NHL, and they get an education, and now they're getting paid. So why do you disagree with me? I'm just curious.
Is it better experience for these guys who are going and are going to get 4 minutes a game? Like, yeah, maybe for some of these like top, like not every player in the OHL is Gavin McKenna, right? Who's going to get top minutes. Because remember, college hockey, they basically run a 5-line system. So if you're on a 5th line in a depth chart, then you're potentially playing 3 minutes a game. That's not going to help your draft stock. Number two, I think this is like the beautiful saying, the grass isn't always greener on the other side. I think everyone's going to go over to play NCAA. They're going to think it's great. They're going to think it's wonderful. And then all of a sudden they're going to realize, hey, you know what? Sure, you get all this money, but you don't get a billet family to live with. You're on your own. Sure, that's okay. I want you to turn back time. Think about when you were 17. If you were living on your own with $700,000 in your bank account, would you be an idiot?
Like that.
Would you be an idiot?
Yeah.
No.
Would you do something stupid?
Yes.
And you're on a college campus where you're treated like the best thing to ever touch sliced bread.
Yeah.
You're going to do something stupid, right? Versus, so for a lot of these players, they're going to look at it where, you know what? No, they actually prefer the billet family because it's not like they're on their own. When we all went to college, it's not like we did every single thing we did in college was smart. I mean, if you're saying that, you're lying, or you really didn't enjoy college. But like, so for some, and I'm going to say some parents are not going to feel comfortable with sending off their kids to play in America by themselves. And let's be honest. I mean, I understand, Lane, there are things that are attractive about it, but I still see the CHL being one of the premier leagues for junior development.
With the NCAA for hockey is NCAA is fantastic for football and basketball. Like the arena sell out like crazy. You don't see that in NCAA hockey.
Depends
now,
where.
Maybe it'll start selling better if you get better players. But even the NCAA hockey arenas do not hold 15, 20,000 people the way the NCAA basketball and football arenas do, right? So you're not going to play in front of the same audience. And by not playing in front of the same audience, you're not going to build yourself up as much for an NHL career.
Now, can I just mention a sport that none of us are talking about for expansion into Canada?
Soccer?
Goodbye, Lane.
I'm sure he'll be back. Spotty incident. I'm sure he'll be back.
He'll be back. And if he's not, that's okay. Dan, I want you to think about the PWHL,
Yes.
and I want you to think about putting a PWHL team in Saskatchewan.
That would be cool.
And hear me out about this. Pandemic, we'll say, because you say the C word, sometimes you get bleh with the streaming. Their attendance was between 11 to 14,000 fans per game for the NLL lacrosse team, right?
Right. Yes, that's right.
14,000 fans at a PWHL was pretty much bang on perfect market.
Actually, it's got pretty close to an NHL team. You know, you look at the Winnipeg Jets, sometimes they're only, I think the Winnipeg arena only holds about 15, 18,000.
Only about 16,000. So,
you're not that far off.
PWHL, again, it's more affordable.
Mhm.
It's an expanding league. Women's sports are expanding like crazy.
They are.
I think putting a PWHL team in Saskatoon or Regina would be brilliant.
Oh, yeah.
I'm calling that's where if I'm putting in a new team, and I know we were talking about the big leagues in NHL, NBA, MLB, and NFL.
Mm-hmm.
But I could really see the PWHL expanding to Saskatchewan or Eastern Canada, and maybe Fredericton, Moncton, Halifax. I think maybe I'm going to say this, and this is no disrespect to the PWHL, because I say this about the CFL, and everyone knows how much I love the CFL. But maybe for the PWHL, look into these B markets.
Yeah.
Because what feels better, Dan? A 20,000 people arena with 12,000 people in it, or a 10,000 people arena sold out?
Oh, sell out, 100%.
So it's why the PWHL Toronto team didn't go to the ACC, right? It instead went to, I still call it Ricoh Coliseum because I'm
Coca-Cola Coliseum.
It went to Coca-Cola Coliseum. So maybe this is the perfect time for the PWHL to look for more of these B markets. I mean, again, actually Hamilton would be a great spot. You got that beautiful new arena in downtown Hamilton.
Right.
If I don't know about how their regional rules work in the PWHL, but like PWHL, their attendance is doing well. The league's building momentum. You know what? Maybe they're a league that would expand into Canada even more
100%.
Because the Canadian markets too seem to be embracing the PWHL more than the American markets.
Mm-hmm.
From what analytics I'm finding.
Right. Totally makes sense.
So what do you think? So you think that could make sense, Dan?
I do. I really do think that could make sense for sure. I think the women's sports, we've been talking about it in school quite a bit, have been growing like crazy. And we're getting more and more fans, and not just fans and seats, are getting TV deals, they're getting sponsorship deals. I think it's something you could definitely grow into. And then once you're seeing how women's sports grow into Canada, then maybe you can look into other major leagues, like, oh, okay, can we put an NFL team in Regina, for example?
But here's the interesting stat. Attendance increase for the PWHL from season to season was up 27%.
Yeah, it's crazy. Exactly.
Build off this momentum. They did the takeover tour, which was holding games in new markets, and that did extremely well.
Yes.
Right? So why not put it in these markets? I would look at AHL markets that either had teams now or had teams in the past that are doing very well.
Mm-hmm.
And I would look for that into, same thing with CFL markets. And I've said the CFL does really well in B markets.
They do.
Right? You look at the Ottawa Red Blacks, the Saskatchewan Roughriders, Winnipeg Blue Bombers. I'd even argue Calgary and Edmonton are B markets compared to like Toronto and Vancouver. And all these teams, even Edmonton, their last game, I mean, I feel that was partially to pay respects for the former owner, did have over 30,000 fans there. And Edmonton in the past has done amazing. And let's go to the comment section here from good friend of the program, David, saying an AHL team out east would be cool, or CFL.
Ah, yes.
And that is the $1 million question, Dan. When you're talking professional leagues, how do you feel about AHL expansion into Canada?
I can totally see that too. I'm surprised we don't have more AHL teams in Canada.
I would love to see Detroit's farm team in Windsor.
Yeah, I'd be
like seriously, it would sell better because again, the Windsor Spitfires get great attendance every game. They have a beautiful stadium. So you already have a great arena there.
Yeah.
And in Eastern Canada, I mean, when they had a team in Halifax,
Yes.
and so about the fan base out east, David, I would say they would, because when they had an AHL team out east, it was the hottest ticket in town. Whenever the CFL has gone out east, it sells out like in like a couple hours.
I was just going to say that, like, the Spooners have been rumored to come to CFL forever, and when they do, CFL regular season games out east, they sell out like crazy. Touchdown Atlantic, that's what it's called.
When you're
even
talking
in Vancouver Island, in Vancouver Island, they put a CFL team out there, and game, I should say, and it's sold out within minutes too. CFL Pacific, and we talk about NFL team not working in Canada. Would maybe an NFL team would work in Vancouver? We see how many tickets are going on the Lions. It's a big market like Toronto. Why not?
I really don't see the NFL coming to Canada. In my personal, and maybe that's my CFL bias, I don't know. But Dan, I'm curious, when you talked about in your class about more sports expanding to Canada, did you guys at all bring up the CFL expansion in general? Because the CFL is looking to with some of these new rule changes, are looking to expand.
I think I did a little bit. I mentioned about the 10th team. I mentioned it here on the show before. That 10th team in CFL would be incredible.
Because I'll say this, I would absolutely love to see a 10th team in Halifax.
Oh, I do too.
Quebec City.
Yeah.
I think Quebec City, you have an instant rivalry with the Alouettes, kind of like the Argos and the Tiger Cats, right?
Right, exactly.
So, and I don't believe the CFL has that revenue sharing issues like the NHL does, so it wouldn't be as much red tape to go around. But I would say if we're for immediate Canadian expansion, I'm going to say we already know the WNBA, and if that one in Toronto works out, if they don't have a lockout, I could see them going to Vancouver.
Yeah.
AHL. AHL is still a professional hockey league and a professional sports league. And the PWHL. That is final answer on where I think expansion will come to Canada. I think it's going to be more of those, and I don't want to say B professional sports to put them down. I love going to Marley games. I want to go to a PWHL game this year. I argue that I love the CFL, but it's considered a B market compared to the NFL.
Right.
I mean, I don't think the product on the field to be product, and that's how I feel too about the PWHL. But what I'm getting at is those are the markets that we talk about the Canadian economy a lot, and people say, well, there's just not the room to have these 50,000 people stadiums. Well, you know what? The PWHL's average attendance was 7,230 last year. There's already a lot of arenas in junior hockey that hold that.
That's right. Yeah, look at London Knights.
London would be a great spot potentially for a PWHL team, but I'm thinking PWHL, I'm thinking out west. I'm thinking Saskatoon, Regina, and for out east, I'm thinking Halifax or Moncton.
Right.
Or again, maybe even Quebec City. Because when I look at Quebec, they are starving for more sports.
They are, 100%.
If baseball comes to Canada, I think it's got to go back to Montreal. If we get a second team in Canada, I think it's got to go to Montreal.
Oh, especially with Guerrero success.
And it's interesting too, and I know Lane had to peace out Girl Scout for a little bit, but Montreal doesn't seem to hold on. And look who's coming back. It's Mr. Lane Dashing Dashko. But
that's good, everybody.
When we were just talking about Montreal and potential expansion, and I think Montreal would be where the MLB would go, just because when you mentioned about cult following for the Jays, I have friends out in Montreal and they don't give two hoots about the Jays because they just feel like they lost their team instead. So maybe that's the perfect place where the rest of the country would still be Jays fans, but Montreal gets their Expos back, and then everyone's happy. And then
that
Lane,
could work.
You can make me an Oreo cheesecake.
Yeah. Oh, I could do. I'll make a cheesecake. Let's go.
Yeah. Cheesecake Factory, bro.
And Lane, I want your perspective on this too. We were talking about PWHL and AHL expansion into Canada.
Well, yeah, I was actually going to bring that up because the PWHL is expanding, but they're going out to the States.
And I think that's a mistake. I think they should be going to Western Canada.
I agree.
The PWHL team in Saskatoon or Regina, where they're already getting like 11 to 14,000 fans going to lacrosse games, very easy to convert a lacrosse stadium to a hockey stadium. So it's the same dimensions pretty much. And you already have the boards and the glass. It's all there. You just basically got to throw down some ice. That's easy. You're in Saskatchewan. There's ice everywhere. It's freezing. So
Yeah.
I think that, again, I think those markets could really support those ticket prices, if that makes sense. So you're
Yeah,
not
for sure.
pricing fans out, but it would still give the corporate crowd that's there, because people say there's no corporate in those cities. There's corporate in every city. There's a corporate crowd in Sault Ste. Marie when I used to
Oh,
cover the
100%.
Greyhounds there, right? And so there's corporate crowds everywhere. So let's try to be smarter about it and look into these other leagues that are looking for B markets, like the PWHL.
I
Yeah,
totally
for
agree
sure.
with that.
I agree with it too.
And back to the comment section, not sure we are making the French happy ever, but their senior men is absolutely insane. Love it. And the ECHL, that's another league that could be cheaper to bring across the border.
Oh,
Actually, I
great
never
point.
thought of the ECHL.
Yes.
That's a very good point. There's another, high-end league that maybe we look into bringing across the border. Maybe it's these, and you know what, too? Maybe an NHL team would be more confident to go to some of these markets if they saw a PWHL team have success there.
Oh, for sure they would.
Because I'm curious, Lane, maybe you would know this. Does the NHL support the PWHL financially the way the NBA supports the WNBA?
I don't think
I
so.
don't think they do.
I don't think, but maybe that's a way, though, the PWHL could get some money from the NHL and saying, let us go to test markets.
But maybe, because I'm not sure. I know they're involved in the video game, and that would be any. I'm not sure. Again, I'm not sure. They might be, because they are in the video game.
That's true. Get some revenue from video game EA Sports too. EA Sports in Vancouver. I do love Jacob's idea, just what we were talking about earlier in the episode. If we were going to do an NFL expansion, Winnipeg's a very interesting point for the NFL.
And, and back to the comment section again from David, OHL, CHL limits you at 21 years max. Would be cool to see pro men's hockey in the ECHL.
Right.
And it would be, maybe it's going to give these players some more exposure and give them a better chance to go into these other markets.
Yeah, 100% would.
So it'll just be interesting to see. And maybe then too, you know what, there are a lot of community broadcasters that I think if they went to these markets would be very, very intrigued to get them onto television.
Oh, yes.
Right. So again, so maybe this is where we confer like the ECHL. So it'd be very interesting to see. But I'm curious. I think we've all came to agreement that for expansion in Canada, PWHL, AHL, ECHL may be the best option to start getting more professional sports into Canada.
Interesting point. Very interesting point. It wasn't the leagues we were looking to in our class project, but still, I think you bring up some great points. And maybe if we have the smaller leagues start expanding in Canada, it could give the confidence like the NFL and NHL and MLB and the NBA confidence to expand into Canada if they do well.
And by the way, the NHL does not fund the PWHL. I was just looking into it. The league
Okay.
is financially backed by the Mark Walter Group.
Oh,
So there you go.
interesting.
They must
But
have
then-
a deal because, but again, then they must have somewhat of a deal with the NHL, because the NHL wouldn't put them in the video game, because all the leagues like the SHL and the DHL and whatever the Finnish league is, those are all somewhat backed by the NHL, right? Because every like sort of franchise that's in NHL video games is all licensed under the NHL licensing. So there must be some sort of deal. I don't know if it's financial or what, but there must be some sort of financial deal, because if not, then how could they be in the games?
I think there's got to be a deal worked out between them for those specifics, but financially, because I think that's beneficial to both leagues in some ways too, right? The PWHL is actually starting to build a strong fan base.
It is 100%. Yes.
But so Dan, when you said that, so would you say then maybe we've given your class a new perspective on professional sports coming to Canada?
I think we did have 100%. I really think so. We also did add, just a side note too, possibly playing NFL team in Winnipeg, an MLOP team into Edmonton, and a NBA team into Hamilton or Montreal. So we have some very interesting points here. I we have been going on about 56 minutes here. Had some great comments from David in the comment sections. I don't know if we're going to post the whole 56 minutes in our class per se, because I don't think our presentation can go 2 hours. I'm not too sure how that would
Why
work.
not?
But I think we definitely open discussion to have a great class discussion about our points here. And it'll be nice, a great way to introduce the sports entertainment marketing class to the decks here.
And tell you what, Dan, since you're in school, the analyst is going to give you some homework.
Okay.
I want you to talk to your classmates.
Mm-hmm.
Any of them are comfortable making a short video. Tell us where they think sports should be expanding into Canada, and we'll air it on the show.
There we go. That's awesome.
More
That's
conversation. We want to hear from you. That's why we have a live comment section, not like
Mm.
your other shows that don't have a live comment section, right? So we want to hear from you.
Yeah, maybe we need a second part of this conversation, right? It's been a little slow with Thanksgiving weekend going on. Everyone's spending time with the family. Not spending time on Facebook. Maybe we need a part 2 of this conversation later on, just even outside of our class project here later on, because it's a very interesting conversation. We have tested a few times and never talked about it for 4 hours.
Absolutely, because we're gonna have to bounce very shortly to get ready for our Toronto Argonauts season game preview, season preview. Soon it's gonna be a Portsmouth because they're done for the year. But
Yeah.
I do want to say, for David commenting in the comment section, everyone else who was watching but didn't feel like commenting, thank you very much for watching the Analyst Desk. And thank you, Dan, and to your class to bringing this subject up. And I do feel this is a further discussion with different guests on the show where we can talk more about expansion.
Yeah.
But
thank you so much to Jacob and Lane for all your research and homework that you've done on it. You guys brought some very great points.
But thank you very much for joining us at the desk. Lane's desk is mobile, went from his backyard to his house, now his brand new car. So thank you very much for watching, everyone. We'll be back in about 25 minutes-ish. Lane, you better put the pedal to the metal. I'm kidding. Drive responsibly. And we'll see you back here for the Argos versus Rough Riders preview show. We promised you 4 shows today. You got the new show, the headlines. You got the baseball preview between the Mariners and the Tigers. You got the expansion to the Canadian side. And you're going to get your Argonauts Rough Riders preview show. 4 shows.
Even though it was no NHL, there's still a lot to do here.
There's always stuff to do at the Analyst Desk, even mine from IKEA. So thank you very much for watching. And as I like to say, make sure you have a comfy chair at the Analyst Desk.
Bye-bye.